Okay, good morning. We are in the Kufan Beis Seif Hey. Isuri Hana Karos, Vakoisos, Upderos, the Tsuchios. You have plates and cups and pots and pans, whatever. Shabishlan Hayoitzer Ba'atze Lilim. When they made this klicheres, when they made them, they baked them with Atzei from a Shera. Hare Elu Asurim. These are Asur, Bahana. Sure, Davar Asur Bahana, also Islam Chadashim. Because the Davar Asur Bahana made them new. Right. The Rambam points out in Snif Mehav of Zion, Loshen Rambam, Hilchos Orla, these are also in the Nogea to other, all generally Surei Hana, all these halachos. And the Shach points out that if there were no Atzei Orla inside, it's just the heat, then like we had in the Sif Aleph of Shalhevis, it's Ein Bo Mamish. That's not the actual thing. It's just it's just a remnant, or it's in Davar Shein Bo Mamish. So then it's going to be okay. Vav pas shebishla agabe kecholim sha'atzei lilim muteres. If you have pas, you baked on coals, charcoal, whatever. Atzei lilim muteres kimi shenasu kecholim halach yisura and achapishahem boros. Since they became gecholim, the iser is gone, even if they're still is still lit. They asked, the place can ask, obviously in Sif Aleph, that gecholim is a problem.
Olive, where we talk about taking pot.
Right. So they're different terutzim. Whatever. Some say that it's only midrabanan. It's only midrabanan, and it's a safek. The Gra seems to say that it's it could be different if you depends if there's still flame inside or not. Like there's two types. One is that they're just like they're just hot, then it's just residual heat. But if it's still glowing, then it could be that would be a difference. Zion Kedera Shebishla Ba'atzei Lilim. If you cook something on top of made the flame, you put a pot on top of it. Uba'atzei heter. You did it with Atzei Lim, then you did it afterwards with Atzei Heter. Tavshil also. That tavshil is also. It'll be Zev is Zagorim. Even though we say Zev is Zagorim, it should be Motor. Shebeshash Nizbashla, Machmas Atzei HaIsser, the time when it's being cooked with the Atzei Isser, Adayin Lobo Atzei Heter. We're talking about a case over here where you cooked it, half the cooking was done on Atzei Yisr, and then you stuck it onto a thing of Atzei Heter. So then since it's not Zev Zegorim, it's Zegorim v'Zegorim. It's not Biyachad. Nimsa mixas abishul ba'atzei heter mixaso be'isr. That's not called Zev Zegorim. That's called that's Zev Zegorim is when the koach is Biyachad. It's at one time that the koach comes to create the whatever the isur hana, create the food or create whatever it is. That's called zev zagorim. But if they weren't working at the same time, then that's not called zev zagorim.
Even if it's not machal and your son, even mashru bishul.
I say, right, the whole time, but he has to get to Michael ben Jusai. I don't know, mashu. Right, if it has to get it hot. If you put it on for a second, no, it gets it hot. it has to cook it a little bit. You're mashu, right? L'chor, if it cooks it mashu, that would be
I'm
also.
going to ask you differently. Why doesn't halacha say if it's not cooked until machal rendered soy, then it's okay, and anything further, it's not? Why does it use that line of judgment?
No, listen. Probably we're talking about until Michael ben Dusai. So therefore, until Michael ben Dusai, if it was partially cooked, no, if it was partially cooked, let's say Michael Dusai is 18 minutes. Whatever. I don't remember for the shiurim, but yeah, yeah. So if you cooked it for 5 minutes on Atzei Isser and 10 minutes, whatever it is, that's what we're talking about. To get it to a third, to a half cooked, whatever, third cooked. You're right. If but if it was fully, if it was until the time, and even until Michael ben Dusai, that's not fully cooked. Even
You just
right.
want to warm the food up. It's cold out of the fridge. You want to warm it
So
up.
I don't know because that's not creating. That's not creating. I'm not. It's a good. It's a good question. I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. I don't. That's a good question. I don't know. That could be.
Initial application. No,
That yeah. You could listen. You can.
That's initial because
Yeah.
that's enough.
Right.
And others did it different.
It could be these things are discussed by comments. I'm not sure. It's a good. These are good. I don't know. I'm not sure. Ches. Efroichim shekananu ba'ashera. You have efroichim which made a nest in an ashera tree. Ve'enan tzrichin le'iman, and they're old enough that they don't need, they don't need the mother anymore. Mutarim, they're mutar because it's not tzarech. The tree's not supporting them. They can, they're independent, so it doesn't need the tree. But beitzim shalev, if it's eggs in the nest, v'chein efroichim shetzrichin le'iman, asurim. Because the tree, without the tree, there would be no nest. So therefore, the tree is like an integral part of the nest, right? So therefore, an integral part of them growing, because they didn't have it, they wouldn't grow. So therefore, it's Isuri Hana. But once they're grown enough to be independent, even if they're still, hanging around the nest, then after that, it's parish from the tree, and therefore it will be mutter.
But didn't they become also before when they were eggs so little? Mm-hmm. Why didn't they become also before? They were.
No, the Isser goes away.
The Isser goes away because it's only their body.
Right. It's not the Isser goes away because it's not if it's not tzarech anymore. You can't. There's no. It's not. You're not getting direct hana from the tree. It's almost like the heat after you take the eitzim out. Leftover heat is mutter. So here you took the asher away. It's whatever. That's the byproduct of it is the by. It's all be sort of the byproduct of the suryana is okay. The cane atzva shebarosha mutter. The cane itself is mutter. B'neisha of maybe eitzim makom and it brings the eitzim from somewhere. I have to choshish that it brought it from the ashera. They bring it from other places. So therefore, the dust itself is mutter. Lo yale al ashera litlam. It's also to climb the ashera to take them. Yatis v'kana v'hein noflim. You take a long stick and smack it off, and that would be okay by the things which are mutter bahana. Okay. Test ha'ashera.
You'd be having enough from using the ashera like a ladder.
Like a ladder, right? To support you is To support you is a problem. All these dinim we'll see in the next little bit talk about any time there's a suri hana, or if someone will get into also hilchos nadarim about someone who's mudar hana, things like that. Well, I think we'll kind of touch upon these things also. Or if someone decides that they don't, b'chumrah, they don't want to get hana from something, whatever it is, so these are the guidelines about how you go about it. Ha'ashera bench test ha'ashera bench ha'isa neveres bench ha'isa elili munechas tachteha. Right, and ashera is a tree which was planted. Ha'isa neveres means it was planted l'shem avodah zarah, to be worshipped as a tree. So that's called an Asherah. And whether the Elilim, whether if it's not planted for it, but there's avodah zarah underneath the tree, then that's also after the tree is called an Asherah. Also, Leishev B'tzila. It's also just sitting in its tail. Now, just as I say about about holiday trees and things, those aren't Asherah. Holiday trees, Xmas trees. They're not. They have no din of Asherah. They're there for noise. They're there for I don't know what whatever. Even if you say the Makor is in say for the Zara, and that was the Makor of it, but now it's not. Now it's just a symbol Ba'alma. It's just a general symbol of whatever their holiday. It's not an Asherah, so therefore even if you put the presents underneath it, those aren't Elilim, and even if the Rebbe in red, the red Rebbe himself is sitting underneath it, that's not called Elilim, so therefore, it's not doesn't have a din of Asherah. So if you want to use it, for firewood, you can happily use it, for firewood. Also, leishev b'tzila, but however, the real Asherah, it's also to sit in its tzail because the tree is made for tzail. It's made for shade. Or made, whatever. One of the main hanos out of a tree, sitting under a tree, is the shade. V'im yeshel derech acheres. If you're walking, if you have a different different path to go around it and not walk through the shade. There's kitsara kamoha. If it's you don't have to doesn't mean you have to walk 10 miles around, whatever. It's just as short. Also lav or tachtel. Then you have to use the other path. You can't walk underneath it. The im lav over tachtel. But if you don't have any other way, or you don't have another way which is the same, takes the same amount of time, then you're allowed to walk underneath because shehuratz. If you walk quickly, then it's okay. V'dafka lav or tachter. That's only the isser is only if to go under the tree. V'lav or b'tzila b'choyin shari. But if the shade is extending out from the branches, that's going to be okay. Because that's because tzail, like we said before, something which is a byproduct, the davar she'ein bo mamash, which is a byproduct, the extra heat, the things like that. That's not that can't that doesn't that's not nichlal nisuri hana. Under the branches. Not the tail. Under the branches itself.
Passed by the angle of the sun, but directly underneath.
Right. By shkia, let's say by the end of the day or whatever, it's casting a shadow. That's okay. You can walk. You can walk within that shadow. But underneath there's tumas ililim. It's also to even to stop. You walk straight quickly. The Shach says it brings the Ben Yeruchim, so you don't have to actually run. You can walk normally. Just you shouldn't. The point is you shouldn't stop. You shouldn't stop and hey, look at that, whatever. You should just make your way across. Even though the person is let's say he has a cane or whatever, and he can't walk fast. It's okay. It's just as long as he's not stopping. Yud. Tzail based elilim. So you have the shade of a temple, church, whatever it is. Tocho v'neged pischoi, inside, like underneath an awning or something, or neged pischoi, or by the entrance. Tochar ba'amos also. Now the isser over here, we're going to see in the tzail she'achar of mutter, but the tzail. We'll talk about the first part in a second. Tzail shel achav. You're on the outside of the building, and it's giving shade. Like by the tree, it's blocking the sun. It's giving shade. That's mutter. There's no isser of tzail. The reason why the tzail in the front is also is because it's an isser to come close to to temples and things. There's an issue to come close, so we don't. So it's an extra xera not to walk in front. The grave it takes out the word sail, the first word of the sift sail. It's just saying basically in Toichu and Egdoi, that's saying the simple nothing to do with the sail. If you can't go inside and you can't go stand by the door or anything like that, Tochar Barabbas is also. But the point is, any other sail. We'll get into those halachos later, so that's not the ikr thing. The ikr thing is that the tzeil me'achorav is mutter. Afilu tocho, even he's standing straight inside the dark part of the tzeil, it's still mutter. But this is only im goizel harabim. It's only if let's say it's going over the sidewalk or something like that, and it's a derech harabim, so it can't ask for derech harabim. Shekadam lo haderech. The derech was there before. Achachach bana sham beis shelilim. The motor lavor derech sham. Well, im kadam habayis the derech also. But if the temple or the church, whatever was there first, then they put a path in front, and they already the iser kilo I guess was like kilo was kona that baklon kona that karka, and you can't put in a derech harabim through. Doesn't matter. Yesh oisrim b'chol gavna, and some say that it's also that the tzeil behind is also b'chol gavna because we're machmir. We're machmir and all coming close, and all the it is considered hana. There's two different days. The ma'aseh chachila, you should obviously try to be makpid, not to walk behind a church and get hana from the shade. Chachila, you shouldn't do that because that's the end over here. Oisim b'chol gavna. That even the back shade.
Even a public pathway.
So that's the thing. Depends if it's, listen, in Chutzar, it could be things where the city was built first and they built here and there, here it could be in the old city also. I don't know when things were built or not. They have these old churches, cathedrals and stuff, and then they put I don't know like when things were laid or not, whatever.
But if the pathway was put after the church was built,
it's a problem.
This is the
This is the Yeshayim. Now it could be that also, just like by a tree, you're allowed to walk there. Walking Shach says you're allowed to walk there normally, but if there's no other way around it, then you can walk there. Just no pausing. Just you are allowed to walk. But if there is another way around, you have two options. Then you should take the second option.
So the Ramah would argue with this, like we said earlier.
Not necessarily, because by the tree, it's underneath the actual branches and the canopy. That's going to be that's going to be the problem. But because outside the tree, that's not. It's a little bit different because there it's sort of like you have the main issue is underneath it, and this is already a secondary, because if you want set, you go underneath it. But here it's here it's more of that. Again, it's not the main thing in the Chanami. I hear the Nakuda, but I think if it's it depends. It could be it's also dependent also, unless it's talking about if they're eaves or something like that hanging over. Maybe that's what it could be. That's what it's talking about. Maybe if the shadows cast very far, also that would be. I don't know if you have to worry as much. It's more, I'm thinking of a wall, but it could be that if there are overhangs and things or whatever, then that would be also with rain, right? You want to go on. It'd be the same thing if it's raining for you to go. If there's an awning coming out from the temple or something like that, that you can't go under it to protect yourself. Yud Aleph. Interesting. Shaila, if there's a siren and the only place to go in would be the church, are you allowed to go in? I don't know. Yeah, good question. That's a point. Yud Aleph Mutter Lita Tachas Sheri Yerakos Bemi Mosachama Shehin Tzrichen Letzel. You're allowed to plant under an Ashera vegetables, whether it's in the summer that it needs sale, otherwise they'll dry out. Bemi Mosachshamim, whether it's in the in the winter when it doesn't really need the sale. They should sale Ashera Shu Aser. Im hakarka she'enin ne'aseres gorim l'yerachos. Here it's zev zegorim, where the tail, it's the tail and the karka which grows the yerachos. El itzmoach. B'chol shedavar iser v'davar muter gorim la hareza muter. Anything which is davar iser and davar muter, which there zev zegorim is muter b'chol makom. Now the truth is the place can say it has. Says that some are aser. This is the shittas of Machaber. Some aser avodah zara. This is like shari surim. Some aser avodah zara. Even zev zagorim. Even not like shari surim. So it could be even over here would be aser. Lefichach sada shezavla bezevel shelilim. If you have a sada which was used with a ground up elilim, and they use when we'll see what you do with where you deposit. If you grind it up, you can't just scatter it to the wind because people will use it. It'll line up people's fields and it'll help things grow. But sadash azal v'zevel she'elilim muter lizvara. So you are allowed to use it. Parash pitma b'karshine elilim. If they ate karshine elilim. Teacha, you can eat that cow. Because again, even though the food helps it grow, but it's not just the food, it's the water, it's the air, all these things, and it's called zev zagorim, and therefore that would be mutter.
Well, the Taz says,